Hi, welcome out there. This is another ioPSYte business highlight. And today I have with me a most valued guest, Michael Connor of Just Roofs and Gutters. Michael, welcome and thank you for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you.
Yeah, really glad to be here. Thank you, Quinn. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. So as the company name kind of gives away what the business does, but I think we'll find out a lot more about roofs and gutters today. That I think will be valuable and pleasant. Michael, tell us a bit about yourself. I know some about you. How
Yeah,
did you come about doing what you do now?
yeah. I my first thought when I started considering that question earlier today was the road to self-employment is very often for many people rough. And so I'm a self-employed guy. I'm not an employee of Just Roofs and Gutters. I have an operating partnership with Just Roofs and Gutters. But otherwise, I'm self-employed. And it really came about. The shortest, straightest line answer for you is that I lost my position as a systems engineer at the Missile Defense Agency in 2014. And I spent a lot of the remainder of that year looking for a new opportunity in a related field or sales capacity in some way in the corporate world and didn't get the traction. And I decided I was going to have to explore something I'd never done before and probably find a way to hire myself. And so started networking and started meeting a lot of people, getting a lot of ideas. And I simply made a great connection uh, with the now my business partner and the owner of the company. And he invited me if I wanted to shadow him for a week or two and see what I thought of it. And I said, yeah. And it wasn't really so much about the roofing per se. That's a very important, necessary thing that's got to be done. But from a maybe more of a personal fulfillment angle, um, just the whole package of self-employment, being my own, you fill in the blank, and that was attractive. And I've spent nearly the last 10 years filling that out. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love hearing how people came to be where they are. And gosh, I have to wonder how many people end up, owning a business because of,
right.
necessity or whatnot. And I imagine that other field is a very niche field. And out there, if you don't know what that means, it means that Michael's a very bright person. So, and
I
he's
hear a lot about engineers being temp. Now I'm a systems engineering by or systems engineer by OJT. That is not by degree, but I hear a lot about how engineers oversolve things. And so maybe that's one of my problems. I tend to want to oversolve something.
Yeah, I can understand that. But there's also value to the detail, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
For those, I know some will be watching this in our sphere of the world and in our network, business network. I know you from the Leads group. What is something out there that might be kind of fun for some of our viewers out there to know about you that they may not know?
yeah. Well, if I were to reach back to not my systems engineering days, but even before that, I was a space and missile and satellite operations officer, as well as an intelligence officer for a number of years with the Air Force and specifically at Air Force Space Command. And I got to be around of not only a lot of very high-ranking uh, military officers, but astronauts. Um, but even beyond that, I guess my one not very often discussed claim to fame, or as David Letterman would say, my brush with greatness. I actually have a friend who's an astronaut outside of my Air Force Space Command work. He happened to be a member of my Air National Guard unit uh, way back in the 80s and 90s, and he worked at NASA. He was a double E electrical engineer from Purdue, an MD from Indiana University,
Wow.
and he got into the astronaut corps, flew a couple of missions on the, well, three, I believe 3 missions on the shuttle and 6 months on the Mir Russian space station. And he's a friend of mine. So I think
That's
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very interesting. I'm also hoping it's not the kind of information that will get us both a ride in black Suburbans. I'm assuming
No,
no, so that's good.
no.
So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Um, what does Just Roofs and Gutters offer for services as it
Yeah.
pertains to roofs and gutters?
Well, yeah, the name says it. And by the way, so this is, of course, in my networking life, I'm the guy that will say in one of my networking meetings, listen, roofing's important, but it's not rocket science, I promise. So I don't know how many people actually get to say that. Um, but it really is just that simple. In our logo, the word just is the smallest word there. And sometimes I think it needs to be the biggest word, but we focus on those two items. We want to stick with what we're really good at. And so we don't do all the other stuff. Anything below the gutters on a residence, we don't do those things. But we have a lot of great trade partners who can do those things better than we can. And so we have a great referral network for the things that we don't specialize in. We do just roofs and gutters, like the name says, and we refer out the other items to our trusted partners.
Yeah, yeah, and I've heard you say that. You know, people ask questions, you say, no, we're just roofs and gutters. That's
That's
what we
right.
stick to. So
Yeah.
I respect that, like doing what we're good at and being really excellent at it. Um, one of my favorite questions I hear people ask a lot is, what are the questions that I should be asking that I don't know I should be asking? So what are the kind of questions that you find people ought to be asking about their roofs and gutters?
Yeah, one of the things I hear a lot from people is they'll say, "Oh, my roof is fine. It's only 3 years old." And my not always my response. I don't want to ever come off as snarky, but it's interesting and I'm tempted to laugh because I want to say, hail doesn't care how old your roof is. So, and especially in the Colorado Front Range,
Oh, yeah.
I think our weather has very much to do with the combination of our elevation and our topography, the mountain range. There's something about it. I can't explain the science behind that, but what we all do know is what we see, and we see a lot of hail activity, and it could be throughout the 4 and 5 months containing and surrounding the summer. I've seen hail as early as May 8th. That was 2017, and I've seen as late as September 29th. That was 2014. So that's a pretty big hail season. And when people say, well, my roof's okay, it's only a couple of years old. Uh, Truly, with all respect, hail doesn't care about that. Um, so it's surprising to me how often people don't understand the effects, well, the possible effects of weather. But they sure know it when it happens. And people get, understandably and rightly so, they get pretty concerned. And it can happen so often where we live in the Colorado Front Range.
Yeah, I think there's so much truth to that. And gosh, my
Yeah,
heart really goes out to those who have had hail damage. You know, I've got a friend and I know he told me, Quinn, they're going to total my car. I mean, I looked at his
yeah,
car and it was crazy. And I can't imagine,
right.
roofs are probably wild because we can't see them. You know, we
Well,
get,
that's right. That's right.
yeah.
And by the way, it's pretty common also that people will say to me, "Oh gosh, you must really be hoping for hail this season." And
Oh,
I listen, I don't. It's not a matter of that. If I would, I'd make the analogy with the tow truck driver or the ER doctor. Those folks do not hope that people have problems or injuries. They simply have to be ready.
yeah.
And that's why they exist, and that's why we exist. It's not that we're hoping for bad things. We just have to be ready to respond to bad things.
Yeah. Yeah. I still get that. And I think like when we're passionate about our business, like we care about helping people. That's why we're
Right.
there. And there's so much truth to that. Like a lot of ER people, I mean, they're there on somebody's worst day.
Right.
it's their job to be there in the worst time. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Uh, something about, spending time with you in our chamber leads group. I know that you're very sincere about this, but I want to
Yep.
hear it in your own words, that you often say that, and this is your style. I know this enough from getting to know you, is that you don't have a pushy sales style, and you really mean it's about developing a relationship before doing business together. And just in
Yeah.
your own words, I'd love to hear you tell everybody out there what that looks like when it comes to just roofs and gutters.
Yeah. I think one of the threats that I think any property owner recognizes, maybe has experienced, is there can be a lot of bad contractors, a lot of bad roofers out there. And of course, there's some very good and well-intentioned folks. One of the struggles that the contracting uh, world in general has is that these folks can be really good at the technical skills, the technical execution of what they do, but they may not be so great at the business angle.
Mhm.
Um, but there are some bad ones out there. There's some people that have the wrong motivations. And so roofing in particular, especially roofing, has a poor reputation, I guess, to be generous. And so we fight that battle, but we're really serious about doing what's right and doing it well. So and so much of what we have to do is instill confidence. And so, and by the way, that's one of the core reasons why our relationships with insurance agents and real estate agents, property managers, are so important. Because if we can have a relationship that in some form can vouch for us through time and experience and practice, where we've demonstrated that we follow through all the way with high quality service, high quality work, then we've demonstrated over time and practice that we're not only serious about it, but we're good at it. Um,
Yeah, I think that means so much. Like whenever I meet a vendor, I mean, the first thing I'm asking myself is, can I trust these folks?
right.
Are they
Mhm.
somebody that's going to stick by me? Are they going to see it through thick and thin? And one of the telltale signs of a great company is how do they handle conflict?
Mm,
How do they work through things when there are challenges? Because there are those
yeah,
one-offs, I think, where there's challenges. I'm sure you've run into that too. Like sometimes there's just things that are challenging that we didn't have control over.
they are. And, it's so easy to get drawn into uh, complaining or blaming. It's, I guess, my personal focus. I'd rather it be, and with my teammates and with customers, anybody that we interact with, certainly professionally, that we present things in a way that we can move toward a positive, actionable uh, endpoint, as opposed to leaving things on a negative where we don't have a resolution. But if we can think in terms of a positive um, resolution and something that's actionable, so we know what to do and we can approach that in a positive way, be problem solvers. And to your question just previously, I, about not being salesy, I think, and I've told the team this many times, if we focus on being problem solvers and communicate that, we don't really need to sell anything. The need is there. So that's a foregone conclusion. Uh, so if we offer ourselves up to be problem solvers, and that's what everybody does. When you and I go to the coffee shop and we walk up to the counter and order a coffee, well, we've got a problem. And when that person hands us our cup of coffee, they have solved our problem.
Yes.
And I think that's why we all go to work, is to participate in the world and make it better, solve problems, and be a help to somebody besides ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's almost like the profit and some of that's just a byproduct of doing something
Yeah.
greatly. So yeah, that really speaks to me. What do you think is, when it comes to roofs and gutters, what's the most common misconception that people tend to have about their roofs and gutters? What do you find to be the biggest eye
Yeah.
opener?
Well, I may have actually answered that. There are probably several things, but one of those is that very thing about when somebody thinks about how old their roof is, and they say it's only a couple of years old, so it's perfectly fine. And again, hail doesn't care how old it is. Hail's going to hit and damage. One of the other things, though, is it's interesting to me how expensive a roof is and how rarely a property owner may have documentation for that very expensive gadget. You know, when we go to a retail store and buy a box fan or a countertop radio, I'm dating myself, or a coffee maker, we tend to take the little instruction, warranty, how-to booklet and put it in a drawer, put it in a file, and we have it, which is useful. There's a form in that booklet to fill out and send in for the warranty on that device. There are instructions on how to clean it and so on. We tend to keep those little documents for this little $20 gadget that we buy. But the average residential roof in Colorado retails for about $28,500. That's average. So obviously we have some that are smaller and less expensive, some that are much bigger and much more expensive. And how often, even with these very expensive, very large roofs, how often homeowners don't have documentation. And I'd say that's partly, of course, the homeowner's fault, but also there's great responsibility in the contract that the installer should not only provide that documentation, but provide it, keep it permanently electronically. And it's fascinating to me to see how often people don't have that important information.
Yeah, so out there, that's a helpful tip. Ask
Yeah,
for it and then
yeah.
know where you're keeping it, have
You
access
shouldn't have
to
to
it.
ask for it, but you definitely should.
Got it. Yeah,
That's
got
right.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if people are doing their job well, it'll be provided.
Yep.
Uh, does Just Roofs and Gutters serve, what's the customer base? Is it residential and commercial? What does that look like?
It is. The bulk of our work is and has been historically residential, and that is specifically what most of us might have on our homes, or what most of us would consider think of as asphalt, composition asphalt shingles. And most of our work is residential asphalt roof replacement. Um, we do have specialized crews. If we have a commercial flat roof of various types of material, then we're going to assign a crew that has the great expertise in that. And we may have crews that do both, several different types, whether it's composition asphalt or concrete tiles or metal panel roofs, or some kind of a technical sheet. We call it EPDM or TPO. Won't dig into those too much, but commercial applications. So we have specialized crews according to the need, but most of our work is the standard residential asphalt that most people see and have.
Yeah, gotcha. I was thinking about our house. I know our house is a concrete tile roof,
Yeah,
and what I see commonly is the houses that aren't protected or blocked, so to speak, from wind by other houses. They're kind of in a tunnel.
yep,
I often see a lot of those tiles missing or out of place
sure.
as well. So I think your point of weather is so powerful and indiscriminate
Yep.
is so true. How if let's say somebody's watching this out there, you're watching, how do they get in touch with Just
Yeah.
Roof and Gutters? What's the best place to start a conversation?
Well, it's I think of a couple of things. It's really nice that with our name, we rank pretty high in the internet search, the SEO standings. So it's easy to search, do a keyword search, and find our website. But our lifeblood, every individual on the team, our lifeblood is networking. So we make personal connections, and so if any one person on the team is not out in the field evaluating a roof, managing a project ongoing, then they're probably writing a report, sitting in the coffee shop, following up a property visit and writing a report. Then they're probably in a networking group meeting, like a Chamber of Commerce referral group, such as you and I are members of,
Yes.
or another one of the great number of professional networking groups. Um, on any given week, I'll attend up to 6 or 7 networking meetings. And my job is business development, so business relationship development, where I connect with and see if we can find a good fit, relationship fit between us and any given insurance agent, real estate agent, property manager. And then if we're not sitting in group meetings where there are members from those professions, then we may be sitting in a coffee shop having a one-to-one meeting with one of those folks. And my entire job is that, developing and growing and strengthening relationships with those folks. So we very much depend. Your question was, how does somebody find us?
Yeah.
Well, word of mouth, I think, is the key term there, because we spend so much time and effort building relationships through networking, one-to-one professional groups like the chamber, other networking groups. So we go by referral, or that is invitation only.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's the only way we do our work, is by invitation only. So we need to be known personally, and so we connect with people through our groups and our one-to-one meetings, and then we get referrals. It's pretty common that an insurance agent will call us and say, "Hey, I've got a homeowner that I want you to contact. I've already talked to them. They've called me about their roof concerns, and so they're ready for your call." Or we'll have a homeowner call us and say, "Hey, my real estate agent or my insurance agent told me to call you." So
Okay.
that's how we do it.
Got it. Yeah. And is it okay for somebody who might watch this? They go out, they find the website, and then they
Yeah.
just call up?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And it is easy with our name, just roofs and gutters.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say, "Oh, roofs and gutters," and we have to say, "No, it's just roofs and
Just roofs
gutters."
and gutters.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're the only company by that name, I'm sure, in Colorado and probably the region.
Yeah.
So we're easy to find. But we go by invitation only. We go by relationships. Those personal connections, that word of mouth is extremely important to us. It's easy to find us on the website, but it's always nice when we have a personal referral where somebody calls and says, "So and so told me to call you."
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that is powerful and effective. And
Right.
what if you could pick one thing or a couple things, Michael, whatever you want to extrapolate on, what is something out there that you would just want to leave people with or let them know
Yeah.
as we close out?
Well, sometimes I like to say my short pitch is, and you've probably heard me say this, my short pitch is, you'll know it if you need me, and if you don't know, then you probably need me. And what I really mean is that the roof is the most expensive gadget on top of the most expensive gadget you own. Um, so it's not only good, but it's important to know the condition of that. And if an owner doesn't know the condition, well, then that's a, if they said, "Gosh, I don't know what the condition of my roof is," I'd say we should come out, do a full evaluation. We take a lot of pictures, we annotate those pictures, we organize those in a very well done, very professional looking report. If we put 10 or 12 or 14 photographs annotated in that report, we're also going to provide a link to all the photographs. We may have 60, 80, or 100
Wow.
photographs, and we keep that on file electronically. We email it to the requester, and then they do know, and they can relax and move on to other things.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I guess the other thing, timing is everything. May 10th is coming up, and May 10th is in this local area, the Denver Front Range, is the 1 year anniversary point for the first serious hailstorm of last year. And many insurance companies have a 1 year limit on the opportunity to file a claim. So I would say, I wouldn't just say it because of May 10th of 2024 coming up, at any day. It's always good to check in with a homeowner's insurance agent. Call them up and say, "Hey, I think I need to review my policy. I'm not sure of the condition of my roof. I don't want to just file a claim unless I really should. So can we talk about this?" And conjure up some of the what if questions. In fact, we have a sheet that we'll include with the report or send out to anybody. if someone said to me, Mike, listen, I've got to go sit with my insurance agent for 30 minutes. I have nothing, I have no idea what to talk about. Say, here, let me send you this sheet, question and answer discussion points with the what if questions, and go over that and then make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, something that, thank you for sharing that. If you're out there and you've had an incident or you can, remember in your head a storm or whatever, keep in mind if there is damage, you probably have a year, from that marking point to reach out. And so that's valuable. And I think the other thing too that, just comes to my mind too, also is, it's dangerous to get up on roofs. And I remember, I think it's good to have experts like yourself do it who know what they're doing. They probably, they've got the fall protection, those things. I remember when my sons were younger, they had one of those stomp rocket things. Well, it went up on the roof. It was
Of
summer.
course,
And, I was a younger guy then, more spry. And so I'm getting up on the roof and I'm going 2 levels up. And I literally thought to myself, this is how it happens. I'm up
exactly.
here looking for a 50 cent to $2 toy, and
Yep,
I fall off the roof and abandon my, family. So I think, if you're watching out there too, call experts to get on the roof. That's probably something smart to do.
yep. Nobody charges for a roof evaluation. Not that
Oh, that's good to know.
not
Yeah,
that we
that's good
know
to
of.
know.
We certainly
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's good to call somebody who practices that, is OSHA compliant, is familiar, not too comfortable with climbing, sufficiently nervous to go slowly, be careful, set up properly, and do the right thing, and
Yeah.
take care in the process. But yeah, call a professional and get their evaluation.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, as always, it's been good to spend time with you today, and thank you so
Appreciate it.
much for being on and letting us learn about your business and sharing with us. And we appreciate you.
Yeah, very much appreciated, Quinn. I thank you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. If you're watching out there, this has been another ioPSYte business highlight, just roofs and gutters, just roofs and gutters. So if you would like to get an evaluation or you have questions or you're looking for a company and person point of contact you can trust, then Michael Connor and team, they are your people. So thanks for watching. Take care out there, and we're just cheering you on in all your business objectives.